Welcome to Cinepro, where we bring your favorite movies back to life with quick recaps, hidden details, and everything you missed. Our movie begins with the police chasing a person and trying to arrest him, but this person manages to escape from them, climbs a residential building, and takes a device with him. At this point, the person is surrounded by police officers, and he insists on meeting someone named Halloran immediately. Otherwise, 5 people will die within 17 minutes. After that, an officer arrives to assess the situation, accompanied by the person he mentioned, Halloran. When Halloran confronts him and asks, "What do you want?" the man responds, "The games are about to begin." Halloran, confused, asks, "What games? I don't understand anything." The man then explains that there are 5 people who need to be saved, or they will die. At that moment, the man is shot and is left breathing his last. Before dying, he declares that the game has already started, then succumbs to his injuries. Halloran exclaims in shock about the situation as the man dies. We then shift to the 5 people the man was talking about. When they regain consciousness, they find themselves in a locked room, wearing devices on their heads. They begin to wonder where they are and what they are doing there. Suddenly, they are pulled towards sharp metal objects that could harm them if they get too close. They try to resist, but are unable to. A voice tells them that each of them needs to confess to their wrongdoings in order to free themselves from the situation they are in. The voice explains that they must tell the truth instead of living in lies. To escape the room, they need to shed some blood. As they are pulled by the chains, one of them moves towards the blade and cuts her hand, which causes her device to deactivate. The others follow suit, cutting themselves to remove the devices. However, one person who had fainted does not do so and ends up being killed by the blade. This leaves only 4 survivors, who then proceed to another room, still unsure of where they are. Meanwhile, the police take the injured man to the hospital. The doctor informs them that his recovery will take some time as the bullet is close to his heart. Halloran is asked why the man specifically requested him, to which Halloran replies that the man had been imprisoned twice before for his crimes. The doctor then apologizes, saying that the man's condition is critical. Back to the 4 survivors. They discuss the need to confess their truths to survive. One of them, a woman named Carly, seems particularly nervous. Another woman suggests that if this is just a game, they might make it through. A man responds skeptically, questioning how it could be a game. The woman explains that games can be won, so they might have a chance to escape. The scene then shifts to a woman jogging in the city. She notices a crowd gathered around something and, upon investigating, sees a man hanging dead from a bridge. She screams in horror. Halloran visits another man who is playing with his daughter and tells him to come with him as he needs him. Back at the hospital, the police try to identify the deceased man but find his face disfigured. They extract something from his ear and play a recording of the voice of the person controlling the 4 survivors. The voice states that he will not stop what he is doing until the police stop harming innocent people. The game resumes for the 4 survivors, with each being urged to confess their wrongdoings. One of them admits to selling a motorcycle to someone who later died in an accident, but he insists it wasn't his fault. Another, a woman named Anna, confesses to losing her child, claiming it wasn't her fault but her husband's. She adds that the police arrested her husband for it. The others question whether her confession is genuine. When it's Carly's turn, the group pressures her to confess. She finally admits to stealing purses from people in the past, but denies that anyone died because of her actions. However, the man controlling the game reveals that one of her victims did die. He presents 3 syringes. One contains an antidote, another contains acid, and the third is poisonous. Carly is told to choose one. As the group urges her to save them by confessing, Carly hesitates and is forced to make a decision. "And he told her which of these numbers you know so you can choose." Then Carly told them the number could be 3.55. They asked her, "What is this?" She told them, "This is the number that represents the meaning of life for her." Then we go back and see her always taking the amount on the ground. There is a woman who fell to the ground in front of her, and Carly was standing there watching her. After that, the chains kept pulling on them, and they kept telling her, "Choose quickly, or we will die because of you." But Carly still refused completely. The chain kept pulling them and choking them until, choking them. In the end, the man injected Graylee with 3 syringes, and the chains loosened and fell to the ground. At that moment, Graylee died. Afterward, they went to see the syringes and said the numbers written on them must be the code to open that door. We return again to the doctor, who tells Halloran and the investigator about a man named Malcolm Neal, whose wife was killed in front of him 5 years ago. Halloran told him that his wife was indeed killed, but because of him, since he loved gambling a lot. When he lost, the criminals wanted their money, and when he couldn't give them anything, they killed his wife. At that point, the doctor asked Halloran if he could identify the person who did this to his wife, but Halloran didn't answer. Then the doctor said that no one had any scratches on their nails, which meant the victim tried to resist what was happening to him. The doctor added that what happened to his head was done with a saw, and that there were traces of acid used inside his body as well. At that moment, the doctor asked the investigators if they could identify the voice on the card in the corridor. Halloran replied that the voice belonged to John Kramer. The doctor said, "Isn't he supposed to be dead?" The doctor asked if anyone could use the voice of a dead person. Halloran responded, saying it might not be him, as the person they captured on the roof referred to the game and John Kramer's name. Meanwhile, Ryan's leg was caught in a rope. Mitch tried to help him, but the rope held Ryan's leg tightly. Ryan screamed, and Mitch tried to retrieve the tape beneath them. After several attempts, Mitch succeeded and played the tape. Ryan heard the voice of the person who kidnapped him, telling him, "Your life's decision is in your hands. Pull the lever in front of you and you'll be free." We return to the doctor, who tells the nurse that she discovered the particles found on the body of the man with the iron cover on his head were animal waste. The nurse mentioned the presence of a virus, and the doctor confirmed it was a virus found in pigs. Farmers who know about it immediately get rid of their farms. Later, the doctor received news of a body that was found, seemingly dumped. When the doctor examined the body, he discovered it had been exposed to hydrofluoric acid. The nurse mentioned that this method of killing was similar to Jigsaw's. Halloran then spoke with Detective Keith, who informed him that the victim had been in a veterans hospital for months. Keith clarified that the victim worked with them. We go back to Anna and Mitch, who head into a strange room, hoping to find an exit to escape. There, they spot a remote hanging from the ceiling. Mitch tries to grab it, but can't reach, so he tells Anna he'll lift her to get it. Once they grab the remote, two screens light up, one in their room and another where Ryan is. Suddenly, a masked figure appears on the screen and says, "It's time for you to face the truth. No matter how much you've lied to others, you can't lie to yourselves. You've put your lives in danger because of your choices." At that moment, the doors close behind them, and the masked figure adds, "The only one who can save you is Ryan," by pulling the lever beneath him. Meanwhile, wheat begins to pour into Anna and Mitch's room from all sides, slowly covering them. They shout desperately at Ryan, begging him to save them, but Ryan keeps repeating that he can't move because of his leg. Halloran then went to the nurse and asked her, "Where were you at the time Malcolm Neal was killed?" She told him she was at home alone. Meanwhile, the doctor was talking to his son via video. Halloran then told the doctor he suspected the nurse might be part of the gang responsible for the kidnapping of the 5 people. The doctor asked Halloran how he knew. Halloran said he interrogated her and felt there was something suspicious about her, especially when she said she was at home at the time of the incident. The doctor found it strange because no one would want to be alone at home at 7 a.m. Halloran added that the nurse had been working on a project in Cleveland for the past 3 months. The doctor asked if Halloran planned to go to Cleveland to investigate. At that moment, Keith informed Halloran that the test results were ready. When they examined the results, the doctor told them that the blood samples found on the nails of the body with the iron cover matched blood from a previous case. They discovered the blood belonged to John Kramer. We returned to Ryan, who still couldn't pull the lever in front of him to save Mitch and Anna, who kept calling out to him for help. Mitch and Anna were being attacked by knives and other objects. A knife struck Mitch in the shoulder, and he removed it. Anna was also struck by 3 small spikes in her hand. Eventually, Ryan managed to pull the lever, but his leg was severed in the process. We see Keith leaving the station, surrounded by reporters asking if John Kramer was responsible for all of this. Keith did not respond. At the same time, Logan was speaking with Eleanor, telling her that she hiding anything from him or knowing anything about John Kramer to tell him, because he feels that Halloran wants to frame him for the case. He wants to know the truth. And after Eleanor was convinced by Edgar's words that Halloran wants to frame him for the case and wants to know the truth, she went to him and said, "Come with me, I'll show you something." Eleanor takes him to a place. When they go inside, Edgar discovers that Eleanor created a place similar to what John Kramer had made before. The police so far have not been able to locate this place. Edgar was surprised that she was able to create the device that John Kramer had taken a long time to make. Eleanor told him that she also took her time to make it, but it turned out just as he saw. At the same time, what neither of them knew was that Detective Keith had been watching them, entered the place behind them, and photographed them. In the hospital, the officer guarding Edgar was surprised when someone came up behind him, closed the curtain, removed the IV from Edgar's body, and took Edgar away. He then goes to Mitch, whose turn has come for the person who kidnapped them to take revenge on him. The person tells Mitch to confess the truth to save himself. Mitch admits that he knew the brakes on the motorcycle he sold were faulty, but didn't get a chance to tell the buyer. The person tells Mitch that the buyer was his sister, and suddenly a rope lifts Mitch upward. The person then says, "To save your life, Mitch, you need to stop the brakes on that motorcycle." Mitch, unable to do anything or grab the brakes, tries desperately to jump and stop the motorcycle using the metal rod he has. She succeeds in stopping the motorcycle's brakes, and Mitch congratulates her, saying she saved his life. However, before he finishes his words, the motorcycle starts again and shreds Mitch inside the device. Ryan, witnessing the scene, screams in disbelief. Later, Halloran goes to the officer responsible for monitoring Edgar and scolds him for failing to do his job. Halloran calls Keith, saying he's now certain Edgar is behind everything that happened. However, when Keith was present to open John Kramer's coffin, they found Edgar's body inside. Keith tells Halloran they should stop suspecting Edgar and look for someone else. Halloran and Keith then go to the place where Logan and Eleanor are. Inside, they search for evidence. Halloran enters a room, and when he turns on the light, Mitch's body falls in front of him. Halloran states that only 2 people remain out of the 5 Edgar mentioned. Keith then goes to arrest Logan, accusing him of being at the torture warehouse with Eleanor and kidnapping 5 people and killing 3 of them. Logan defends himself, suggesting Halloran is the one with a motive to do this. He reminds Keith of the rooftop incident, questioning who ordered the soldiers to shoot Edgar's control control device and who shot Edgar in the chest. Keith admits it might be possible, but asks for evidence to prove Halloran's involvement. Logan suggests checking if the bullet that hit Edgar came from Halloran's gun. They check the bullet, and Logan shows Keith that it matches Halloran's gun. Keith agrees they need to monitor Halloran. The next day, Eleanor comes to Logan, suggesting they search for John Kramer to save the people he's holding. Logan dismisses the idea, saying they can't do anything against him as he's stronger than them. Eleanor insists they've prepared for this and convinces Logan to join her. As they leave, Halloran follows them in his car. Meanwhile, Anna tries to escape from the room she's in, but is struck on the head by a man. When she wakes up, she finds herself facing an older man. Realizing it's John Kramer, John Kramer tells Ryan he passed his test. Ryan asks why he's being put through this, claiming he did nothing wrong. John reminds him of the time he was in a car with his friends, argued with them, and threw himself out of the car, causing the deaths of 2 friends. Ryan insists it wasn't his fault. John then turns to Anna, accusing her of always fighting with her husband, and after giving birth, being unable to handle the baby, strangling it, and blaming her husband, leading him to a mental hospital where he committed suicide. Logan and Eleanor continue searching for John Kramer's farm. Back to Ryan, he pleads with John Kramer, saying he's ready to do anything to be released. John tells him there's still more games to play. Meanwhile, Logan is suddenly attacked by Halloran, who beats him up. Eleanor escapes to avoid being killed by Halloran. Anna examines a weapon to see what it does, but Ryan warns her not to touch anything as they don't know what might happen. Anna doesn't listen, grabs the weapon, and tries to use it to save herself. However, the weapon backfires, killing her. Only Ryan remains alive. Halloran discovers an injection mark on his back and collapses. When he wakes up, he finds himself with Logan, both tied to a device. John Kramer appears, telling them to confess to everything they've done. Logan admits people died because of him. John responds that since he caused their deaths, he will die like them. The device, this is the beginning of the rays from him, and Logan died afterward. Then I came looking for Halloran, and Halloran didn't confess to everything he had done before and the people who died because of him. After that, the ray that was in the device turned off. A little later, Logan gets up, and we find out that he was playing along with John Kramer to make Halloran confess to everything, because Halloran was the reason for the language's suffering. Logan tells Halloran that he was one of the 5 people John Kramer wanted to take revenge on, but John Kramer took him, hung him, and the two agreed to take revenge on those people together. Then they turned to Halloran. After that, Logan went and shot Edgar, deceiving Kes and telling him that he had fired the shot using Halloran's gun because he was the one who switched it. In the end, Halloran told Logan that no matter what he did, he wouldn't be able to bring back his family's rights. Then Halloran was killed, and that's how the story ends. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give us a like as encouragement to keep going and provide you with the best content always. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you can get our videos as soon as they're released. Stay tuned for many upcoming movies soon. See you later, goodbye.